Well, hello everybody. My name is Dan Ricard. I'm shift coordinator here at Vernon Jubilee Hospital. I'm coming to you in a fairly typical scenario. Unfortunately, it's the end of a 12-hour shift for me. I got moved into this shift. I was hoping to address my Capstone project a little bit more formally with a little bit more time. But this is where we land. This needs to be submitted tomorrow. So I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of what this course meant for me and how it was useful. For the personality typing, the MBTI, I'd actually investigated it myself out of my own interest multiple times rather in depth before, so there wasn't a whole lot there that was surprising to me other than the fact that the course questionnaire scored me as an INTP, and other sort of more lengthy assessments that I've done scored me as an INTJ, and I actually find that I identify more with the second one. So that's the one that I use to inform the rest of my assessments. And in saying that and finding that out, and again, and reaffirming that, and what I can do about it, I do think I need to develop my introverted side. So I've been working to do that, to adapt to various situations, just becoming more comfortable in dialogue, as well as I want to really try to take note of my judging side, try to soften that a little bit, especially when delivering information to feelers, recognizing that the way I see the world is quite different than other people, but no more or less legitimate. So when we learned about stress, I learned that it showed up for me as oftentimes a lot of chest sensations, palpitations, and shallow breathing. I end up with racing and intrusive thoughts, and sometimes I end up short-tempered and severe with those that are around me. So I think what's getting in the way of me practicing that currently is really time and effort. So more time on task, more evaluation and time spent relieving my stress, away from the stressful environment. So when I can recognize the impact that it has on my health and well-being and the lives of those around me, then I can prioritize things like meditation, sleep, and reading when I'm not in the job environment. So for our team and for what's going on and people working in similar job role as me, I think we can collectively recognize our limitations and establish more realistic mutual agreement of job role expectations. And then I think we can also maybe practice a regularly returning to our office space. We do a lot of walking around, dealing with many different people, and then creating a safe, quiet space for some time alone. So on the module we did on communication, I learned about my communication strengths, in that I like to understand things in depth, and I usually only speak after I've thoroughly considered an issue. I learned for my weaknesses, I'm sometimes uncomfortable with prolonged dialogue or unclear messages. I could provide more accommodation for others' preferences in communication, such as pleasantries and small talk. In terms of strategies, I picked the opposite of an INTJ, so an ESFP, and I chose kind of what I could do for each of those opposite traits. So I would have longer open dialogue. I would relate my points and details to the environment at hand. I could consider my nonverbal and paraverbal communication using gentle language, and I could remain flexible to multiple solutions. So for my team development, I think that we can acknowledge each other's preferences, not negating them or insisting on our own way being the only valid method. And I think that we must consider others and put them ahead of ourselves. Regarding conflict, I learned that my default conflict management style is that of competing, and I get triggered when there's belittlement, bullying, neglect, or incompetence, or as the course puts it, challenges to authority really trigger me. I can manage these sort of limitations that come with that style by using inquiry to get all the facts on an issue to determine whether or not I even need to compete. I actually may be able to collaborate or accommodate if there are others with more knowledge or better ideas. I can test my own assumptions against their ideas and figure out if I need to improve, which is a major motivating factor for me. And I can lead with love. And I think that I can bring this to my team and colleagues by knowing there are different conflict management styles and that they all have their uses. And then that by valuing relationships and thereby making the time to develop collaborative relationships, I can lessen conflict and lessen competing where it's not really needed. So when we're speaking about change and resiliency, I know that when I'm moving through the curve of change, I need as much information as possible. I need to have time to reason out the situations and figure out my decisions and my role and to ask questions about these things. If there's thought behind the trajectory, then I can really get behind it. I get motivated and I'm comforted. So I can help my team members by communicating as much as possible and showing them that they are valued and I am considering their feelings when we're going through these things. And I know that as it is, I do a good job at living authentically and trying to maintain perspective and managing stress. I think that I could improve at interacting cooperatively and building networks. And so for my team, I think that more communication and earnest effort coming from a pure place goes a very long way. And I can continue to take personal responsibility for what I know, educating myself and solidifying these course principles in order to readily communicate my knowledge with others during change and stressful times. So the more that I work on network building and cooperative interaction, the more opportunities for me to model this behavior and learn from others. So at the beginning of this course, I set out my learning goals, not really knowing much about any of these topics, not having any formal education. The first of the 3 learning goals was that I wanted to involve the opinion of others, including my subordinates, in my decision making. I wanted to seek out their input in conversation, and I thought that I would know that I was succeeding when my conclusions were altered as a result of the conversation. I thought that should be apparent by the end of the year. I think I've improved in that over just the course of this course. And I think that there is no end to the amount that I can try to draw out information and collaborate. So I'd like to just continue along that path. For number 2, I said that in conflict, I want to continue to allow for scathing comments to roll off my back and avoid engaging with them, properly contextualizing adversarial actions. And I said, I will know this is happening for me when I can leave a heated discussion unperturbed. And I think, again, that comes from just having a better understanding of conflict, what drives it, and being aware of the way that we react to it. So I was able to garner a little bit of that from this course as well, reflect on that and get a little bit more in depth that way. I think I would rephrase that a little bit. I think I would change the emphasis towards finding those shared interests. And again, just really paying attention to the other person to figure out what it is they're after and how I might be after the same thing. So, and my third learning goal was that I would have a better understanding of the concepts of change and resiliency. It's new to me. Haven't been well versed in the literature. I know it is. I know there's a lot of literature around change and resiliency, and I just wanted to begin to explore these topics. And I think that that's another one where I can just kind of push the goalpost a little bit further. I think that I would like to do some private reading, personal reading on change and resiliency, maybe pick up a book, because there's a lot of it going on around here, and people have a lot of challenges with it. And I think so knowing what's to come, knowing what we can expect and what sort of barriers might arise at each stage of it, I think is a good thing, if not to learn more about, at least to review. So I'm actually pretty happy that I have these course notes downloaded to review. But so I want to thank everybody for sharing with me during this course, and and for the opportunity to participate. And I want to wish everybody the very best in their leadership journeys. See ya.